Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a man accused of strangling his ex-girlfriend in Bangor is found guilty of murder. We'll have reactions coming up. Plus, 5 teenagers are facing charges as Lewiston tries to get a handle on a rise in teen violence. They're all charged with murder. And we'll also continue our close look at the candidates as Mainers prepare to cast their votes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Janessa Bishop has the day off. We thank you for joining us. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up on this Tuesday morning, but we're going to kick things off with a check of that forecast to let you know what to expect as you head out for the day. It's looking like a cloudy day ahead today. Some folks may even see a passing thunderstorm, but overall it should stay mostly dry here in the Bangor area. And the good news is it looks like things will be brightening and warming up as we head toward that weekend. Tomorrow looks fantastic. Let's turn things over to Devin Biggs for our first look at our weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Let's check out the radar and satellite. A little bit of precipitation tracking in from the north and going toward the south. A little bit of lightning showing up as well. We will get this out of here, and we are going to watch out for a slight chance for showers and even a little bit of a rumble of thunder today, especially farther down toward the south. So as we do push forward, this is all courtesy of a boundary that is currently passing through. Let's zoom things out. We can see that boundary right about in here going from north to south. So futurecast pushing forward, we do see that developing from north to south. We will get that out of here later on tonight with the clouds breaking up too. And even as we head towards tomorrow, a beautiful day filled with a lot of sunshine. So pushing forward, we do have some winds today reaching up to about 15 to 20 miles per hour as that boundary passes through. The winds will back off later on tonight. Hourly forecast moving forward, we do have some clouds, slight chance for a shower or storm. Temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
Thank you, Devin. We'll look forward to that. Well, family and friends of a Bangor woman brutally killed by her former boyfriend in 2024 say they finally have some justice. Nearly 2 years after Virginia Cookson was found dead inside her Larkin Street home, a Penobscot County jury found Richard Thorpe guilty of her murder. As our Alex Schley tells us, despite the verdict, this is not Thorpe's final day in court.
Mr. Foreman, is Richard Thorpe, the defendant at the bar, guilty or not guilty of the offense of intentional or knowing or depraved indifference murder?
Guilty.
Monday, after about an hour of deliberation, a Penobscot County jury found 44-year-old Richard Thorpe guilty for the 2024 murder of his former girlfriend, Virginia Cookson.
I can't say that we're surprised at the outcome.
No, not surprised.
Before deliberation began, jurors heard closing arguments from both sides, during which Thorpe's defense team reminded the jury that the burden of proof rests on the state.
It can be convincing to you that he murdered her. That's not enough if you have a doubt.
Prosecutors, meanwhile, pushed back, attempting to poke holes in the defense's reasoning.
You just heard the suggestion that because Dr. Fonte didn't give a time of death, that somehow someone other than the defendant must have done this.
Thorpe's conviction carries a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. Before sentencing, his attorneys requested a full psychological evaluation.
He has a long history of mental health treatment, treatment in medical facilities, psychiatric facilities.
Attorneys say the evaluation could factor into both the duration and conditions of Thorpe's incarceration. Regardless of the findings, prosecutors say they plan to seek a sentence that considers both the murder of Virginia Cookson as well as Thorpe's extensive criminal history.
He has a history of domestic violence. He actually was released early on a very serious domestic violence sentence, so we will absolutely be highlighting that to the court as to why a meaningful sentence should be handed down in this case, because this is certainly not his first time abusing women.
Sentencing is scheduled for 9 o'clock the morning of September 1st. In Bangor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, meanwhile, a judge has approved limited access to the internet for convicted sex offender Elliot Cutler as his case continues. The former two-time candidate for Maine governor was back in court Monday morning. Our Grace Blanchard has more.
Following a hearing Monday morning, a judge allowed Elliot Cutler to remain free on bail with supervised internet privileges while his proceedings continue. Cutler was originally convicted of possession of child pornography in 2023. A motion to revoke his probation was filed back in April, marking the 5th probation revocation request made within a 6-month period for various alleged violations. This latest motion was for allegedly keeping encrypted files on an electronic device and failing to disclose the correct password to open them. After spending more than 3 months in jail, he was released on bail following a hearing in May. On Monday, the state filed a motion to continue the hearing. This comes after Cutler retrieved the password to devices that prosecutors argued they have not had the chance to search and review. Cutler's attorney agreed to the motion on the condition that Cutler have access to the internet.
So I appreciate that, there have been problems with the internet. I've heard that time and again. I just want to push back on that a little bit. That's kind of discounting all the 800 and some other days that he's been doing just what he's supposed to be doing.
The judge agreed to allow Cutler access to the internet between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, while supervised by his wife or brother. He also must notify his probation officer ahead of time. No new bail was set, and Cutler remains out of jail on a $10,000 bail. The district attorney and Cutler's attorney declined to comment. A new court date has not been set. The judge says it could be August before the next hearing. In Ellsworth, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A traffic stop in Skowhegan over the weekend led to a significant drug seizure. Skowhegan police say on Saturday night at around 9 p.m., an officer stopped a vehicle for missing registration plates and a loud exhaust and found that none of the occupants had a valid driver's license. Skowhegan police say the officer then contacted a K-9 team, which responded and conducted a free air sniff of the occupants and the vehicle. They say while walking by the occupants, K-9 Reese indicated on 30-year-old Fairfield resident Sadie McDonald. Police say drugs seized during the stop included roughly 92 grams of fentanyl, 27 grams of cocaine, and 54 grams of a cutting substance. Multiple people were arrested as a result of the stop, including McDonald, along with 51-year-old Louis Lopez and 38-year-old Farmingdale resident Michael Griffin. They all face a variety of drug-related and other charges. Well, looking briefly to our south, the Lewiston Police Department says 5 teenagers have been charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder after a shooting on Pierce Street Saturday night. Police say the shooting happened at around 11 p.m. at 125 Pierce Street. And Lewiston has seen an uptick in shootings this year, many of them involving teenagers. City leaders say it's a trend that they are now trying to reverse. And yesterday, the mayor called on parents to do more. Max Williams explains.
Tonight, Lewiston Mayor Carl Shaleen is doubling down on his message from over the weekend, saying that ending youth violence starts with parents.
If you don't know where your kids are or where they're hanging out late at night, it's time to get involved.
That's a message Mayor Shaleen has been sharing since this uptick in violent crime. He is now suggesting those families seek help from outreach groups and local organizations. Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services is one of them.
A lot of them don't even know what to do with it.
Rilwan Osman is the executive director. He and his team are launching a Voices Against Gun Violence initiative, featuring workshops, community discussions, and stories from advocates and survivors every day throughout the month of June, coinciding with National Gun Violence Awareness Month.
We are asking people to pledge that I think they can talk about gun violence at home, in their communities, at school.
Mayor Shaleen hopes by increasing community outreach, teen violence will slow down.
I'm always optimistic about Lewiston. I appreciate everyone getting involved, and I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing.
Now, Lewiston police say they have hired additional patrols and have increased their presence in the downtown area.
And that was Max Williams reporting. Meanwhile, an act of vandalism has Bangor officials hoping the person responsible will step up and help make it right. A flower bed in Bangor was vandalized by an unidentified woman over the weekend, It was around 6 o'clock Saturday. A group of unidentified people were seen getting out of a vehicle by the Thai restaurant on Main Street. Security footage shows a woman running onto the sidewalk and repeatedly kicking a flower bed, then tearing out flowers and throwing them on the streets. You can kind of see her up there at the top of the screen. Betsy Lundy, the executive director of the Downtown Bangor Partnership, believes that the actions of the vandal came down to a person simply having a bad day.
I think it has nothing to do with the place that they were in the moment. It just has more to do with their particular state of mind. And good people do bad things, and all we can hope is that that person will find a way to make it up to their community at some future point in time.
Well, the vandalized flower bed has since been cleaned up and put back to normal. The crews did a great job decorating in downtown, and they hope people will respect that. All right, the time now is 8:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll continue our special look at the candidates running for office during next week's election. Today, we'll hear from U.S. Senate hopeful Joe Baldacci. But first, another check of that weather forecast. A cloudy day lies ahead today with a chance of isolated thunderstorms. High temperatures will be around 72 degrees. It will be partly cloudy tonight with lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, a beautiful, mostly sunny day on the way. High temperatures tomorrow around 79. We'll be right back.
Leasing keeps getting better at Quirk Hyundai in Bangor. Lease a 2026 Hyundai Tucson just $269 a month. Or, drum roll, lease a Elantra for only $169 a month. It's your Hyundai. Find yours at Quirk.
Joe Baldacci, the hand-picked yes man of dark money DC. He's bankrolled by DC and beholden to them, not us. The truth? Joe Baldacci is the only Democrat running for Congress who stands with Trump and opposed implementing Medicare for all Mainers now. Good for the establishment, bad for Mainers. Reject dark money and corporate Democrats. Vote no on DC's hand-picked yes man, Joe Baldacci. Real Change PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our Stable Lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Employee pricing for all at Quirk Ford in Augusta. Right now, lease Maverick XL for $369 or save over $10,700 on F-150 Lariat. American value for American values. It's your Ford. Find it at Quirk in Augusta.
To dream the impossible dream. To reach the United States World Cup champions. We follow the star.
What? You think the U.S. is going to win the World Cup?
Hey, you don't believe in miracles?
As Maine's primary election approaches quickly, we want to give our viewers a deeper look into the candidates that they'll be considering on Election Day. Today, we hear from Joe Baldacci, a current state senator and Democratic candidate for Maine's 2nd Congressional District.
Joe Baldacci is born, brought up, raised in Bangor. I've raised a family here. I've worked in a small business. I've started my own small business in Bangor. I'm really passionate about Maine and the 2nd District and the people that live here because these are my friends and neighbors and communities I've grown up with. What keeps me passionate is to help people, whether it was on the City Council or in the State Senate, when I can help constituents or when I can vote for policies that are going to help people. I'm proud of my record on jobs, education, health care. I've been there for the important votes on those and have delivered. And that's what keeps me passionate. Well, I would ask Democrats to vote for me because I'm the only candidate in either party that's won an election in the last 10 years. I've won 4 of them. I've run 7 or more points ahead of the national ticket each time. which is what we have to do in this district in order to win. In addition to that, I have a solid legislative record. People can see my votes. I've been there, like I said, for the tough votes on jobs, education, healthcare, the budget, reproductive freedom, the environment, and really proud of my record. And it's helped educate me as to how a good representative could be for the 2nd District.
And we'll be hearing from more of the candidates as we head toward that midterm election. Well, Democratic District 2 candidate Matt Dunlap is taking on Baldacci in that race, along with former Governor Paul LePage. And Dunlap highlighted threats to Maine health care yesterday and his determination to fix it. Dunlap says for years, Mainers have watched health care and prescription costs go up while access to care shrinks as hospitals close. He says Medicaid is under attack, contributing to facility closures. He says he wants to protect Medicare for all and get real federal funding for Maine hospitals.
When a rural hospital closes in Maine, a community dies with it. We're losing maternity wards, emergency rooms, and primary care at a rate that should embarrass this country. I'll fight to fund these hospitals, expand the workforce, and keep care close to home where it belongs.
Dunlap also pledged to protect reproductive freedom, including abortion, access to contraception, and IVF treatments. He also says he wants federal action on safe staffing ratios for healthcare workers in Maine and all around the country. All right, the time now is 8:16. Coming up after the break, U.S. tensions rise with Israel as it tries to hammer out a peace deal with Iran. We'll hear about the latest sticking point. Plus, we'll travel to Stonington, where artist Jill Hoy uses a palette of beautiful color to bring images of Maine's coastline to life.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Located on Wilson Street in Brewer, Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, where you'll find only the best sushi, Asian favorites, and specialty crafted cocktails that will satisfy anyone. Try tatami seating for an immersive experience. Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, bringing delicious traditions to you.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Calm, compassionate, capable. That's how Dr. Nirav Shah led us through one of our most challenging times together, earning the trust of Mainers for his clear leadership that saved lives.
As governor, I'll be guided by evidence, motivated by compassion, driven by urgency, and committed to our responsibility to care for one another. We've come together before to tackle tough challenges, and I'm ready to do it again.
Nirav Shah, Governor.
Got old metal and junk cars? Turn that clutter into cash at Daddy and Daughters. We make recycling easy, fast, and fair. From Skowhegan to Dover Foxcroft, from Troy to Lee, you can trust our certified scales and friendly service, offering top prices for junk vehicles in Maine. Whether you drop off or we pick up, Daddy and Daughters covers Central and Eastern Maine. Come see us at one of our 4 locations and watch your scrap pay off. Daddy and Daughters turn scrap into cash.
It's mowing season. And Bad Boy Mowers has the best lineup in the game. Built to win with more power, advanced engineering, and performance that never quits. Whether you're playing on this field or this field. So this mowing season, raise your game and join the team. Bad Boy, mow with an attitude.
An oil painter from the Maine coast says summer is the perfect time to capture our state's beauty. Our Jody Hershey takes us to Jill Hoy's colorful gallery in Stonington.
There is no mistaking a Jill Hoy painting. Her masterpieces include vibrant colors and breathtaking views of nature from her summertime home in Stonington.
I'm a plein air painter. I work in oil. I work on location, that means. So I just love art. I live for it.
Hoy began summering in Maine when she was 9 years old. These days, she spends 6 months of the year in Stonington, painting and operating her gallery, and the other 6 months of the year living and doing studio work in Massachusetts. She says there's no place she'd rather be than in nature.
When you're outside, you're just plucking moments as they come and hit you, there is constant change in the world. I'm out in nature for hours and hours working on these paintings, and you start to see the color embedded in other colors.
Hoy's paintings are not just in galleries. Her work can be seen in some pretty unexpected places as well.
And I really want people to live and feel art. So I'll put them in the bank, in the library, in the town hall, in the dentist's office. I like captive audiences.
Hoy says Stonington provides her with endless amounts of inspiration.
I love this environment, and it shows in the work, for sure.
In Stonington, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Boy, she does amazing work, and you can't beat the scenery down there in Stonington either. All right, let's turn things back over to Devin Biggs. Yeah, we're going to do our forecast now. A full look at our forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes, now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Wave heights at around 3 feet according to the buoys. We have no advisories in effect across the area, and we're looking calmer further off towards the north and east. A little bit active further out towards sea at around 3 to even 7 feet at this moment in time. Meanwhile, we do have a boundary passing through, and in fact, a little bit of lightning earlier this morning with a little bit of a downpour to the north. We will have a slight chance for a shower or storm throughout the daytime period today, especially as this boundary passes through. We will calm down later on tonight, but otherwise outside of this boundary, the rest of the Northeast looking rather calm. Some other areas across the country seeing some showers and even some thunderstorms this morning. But for us, as we do push forward, a nice day on the way. Again, we do have a slight chance for a shower or a storm again along the coast later on this afternoon, with the clouds breaking up later on tonight. And in fact, as we head towards your Wednesday, looking very nice, filled with a lot of sunshine. Get outside and enjoy Wednesday. It will be a nice one out there. Maybe a few passing clouds as we head towards Wednesday night, but that's all we're really going to see. Your UV index forecast for today, despite the clouds, will still be at a 6. That is high. Burn time of 30 minutes. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, and shade will still be necessary to avoid a bad sunburn, as it's only a slight chance we'll see a shower or storm. Now, we still have drought going on, so we could still use a lot of precipitation to knock that drought down. So for today, here's what we're looking at. Mostly cloudy and isolated shower or storm possible. Highs in the low 70s. North wind at around 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, we have mid 40s under a partly cloudy sky and a light and variable wind. And then there's tomorrow. We have upper 70s, mostly sunny, and that west breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy for your Thursday with highs in the mid 80s, low 80s coming up for your Friday under a mostly cloudy sky. Showers and thunderstorms possible Saturday, highs in the mid 70s.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
Matt Dunlap sided against Maine women. Dunlap's anti-abortion voting record earned him a 100% rating from Maine Right to Life. We deserve answers. Matt Dunlap says,
no regrets at all.
Now a mystery group tied to Republicans is meddling with $300,000 to elect Dunlap. Vote for a Democrat we can trust with a 100% voting record from Planned Parenthood. Joe Baldacci.
I'm Joe Baldacci, and I approve this message.
We are the Dillos. We are from Northern Kentucky. Being out in a rural area, coverage is pretty hit and miss with other carriers, so switching to T-Mobile solved a lot of problems that we had.
I'm able to use T-Satellite now. When you need to communicate, you can communicate.
America's best network meets off-the-grid satellite coverage with T-Satellite. Plus, over the past 5 years, T-Mobile customers had the lowest wireless bills versus Verizon and AT&T, and enjoy a 5-year price guarantee on experience plans.
The value that we get with T-Mobile is excellent.
Are you experiencing foot pain? Comfort Shoes & More has a team of experts trained in podorthics to help you find relief. They offer tailored fittings, shoe modifications, customized orthotics, and much more for the ordinary or the hard-to-fit foot. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear for men and women from today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Merrell, and Ariat. From running to walking, casual or dress, they have it all. Take the drive to Newport for a sit-and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
A deal between the U.S. and Iran could be in jeopardy, largely because of the conflict between Israel and Lebanon. This after a profanity-filled phone call between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. ABC's Karen Hua has the details from Washington.
Oil and gas prices remain high amid new efforts this morning to keep the shaky ceasefire with Iran from collapsing after Israel escalated its attack into Lebanon. Sources tell ABC News that President Trump had a fiery phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, where Trump accused Netanyahu of being ungrateful, calling him crazy and asking Netanyahu, "What the expletive are you doing?" as he tried to stop Israel from bombing Lebanon. The call happening after Israel ordered more strikes against Iran-backed Hezbollah forces. This prompted Iranian leaders to threaten to call off negotiations with the U.S. entirely. Sources say Netanyahu insists Israel will not leave Lebanon, but President Trump says Israel and Hezbollah have agreed to not attack each other and claims talks with Iran are resuming at a rapid pace. Trump posted on social media, "I had a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu today, asking him not to go into a major raid of Beirut, Lebanon. He turned his troops around. Thank you, Bibi." Iran's foreign ministry blames the Israeli attacks and contradicting claims from Trump for delaying any deal. Ultimately, the stakes remain high. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, gas prices are still high, and Iran has not agreed to anything involving nuclear weapons. Karen Hua, ABC News, Washington.
In other news, the Pentagon implements a change in security status that restricts media access. The Pentagon says its press office is now a sensitive, compartmented information facility where journalists are no longer permitted. Acting Press Secretary Joe Vladez writing on Monday that the latest move is the result of speech writers from the Office of the Secretary of War handling classified material. Pentagon reporters have previously had access to public spaces in the Defense Department to talk to sources and to attend briefings. This comes after rules imposed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in October banning journalists from gathering unauthorized information on the Pentagon, which led to the New York Times suing the Defense Department last month, saying a requirement that journalists be escorted while on Pentagon grounds is unconstitutional. Well, now to a new legal setback for the Trump administration, a federal appeals court preventing the Pentagon from removing transgender troops from the military. A panel of judges ruling that the ban is likely unconstitutional. Lionel Moyes with that story.
This morning, a decision protecting transgender troops in the military. An appeals court is now blocking the Trump administration from removing service members because they are trans. A judge saying the policy is both arbitrary and based upon animus, saying it violates the constitutional right to equal protection of the law. President Trump last year signed an order claiming the sexual identity of transgender service members conflicts with a soldier's commitment to honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle and is harmful to military readiness.
this was unlawful, unconstitutional targeting of a group just because the administration finds them to be unpopular.
The decision applies only to current service members who sued and not recruits, meaning the military can still block transgender people from joining.
We had inclusion of people of all different races, inclusion of women in combat roles, inclusion of gays and lesbians in the military, and now transgender folks. And every time we've expanded the military to allow more and more people to serve with more backgrounds, we've made that military stronger and made the country safer.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon is explaining a rare move by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Sources say he's now blocking the promotion of several senior Navy officers. They include African Americans, women, and white men who were blocked from promotions for various reasons, including participating in DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The Pentagon saying military promotions are given to those who have earned them. The department will never consider the color of a service member's skin or their gender as a factor in promotions. As for the ruling on transgender service members, Hegseth responded saying, "See you at the Supreme Court." Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
In other news this morning, a legal battle over artificial intelligence and child safety. It's triggering a broader debate over whether AI companies are becoming too powerful. ABC Sophie Flay explains.
This morning, a new lawsuit taking aim at one of the most powerful artificial intelligence companies. The state of Florida is now suing OpenAI and its CEO.
Sam Altman and ChatGPT have chosen the AI race over the safety and security of our kids.
State officials claim the company marketed ChatGPT to the public while concealing serious safety risks. They claim the chatbot has offered instructions to children considering self-harm. And they claim the suspect in last year's deadly shooting at Florida State University used ChatGPT to plan the attack. In response, OpenAI says, "We believe minors need significant protection, which is why we put in place industry-leading protections and policies, including an age prediction tool." And regarding the Florida State attack, the company has said ChatGPT provided factual responses to questions with information that could be found broadly across public sources on the internet. As the biggest AI companies race to go public, with valuations approaching $1 trillion, Senator Bernie Sanders is pitching a plan to give the government and the American people control of half of each AI company. He's proposing a one-time tax of 50% of their stock, which would be held in a sovereign wealth fund.
When a public resource generates wealth, the public should share in that wealth. Artificial intelligence is being built on a public resource far more valuable than oil. It is the accumulated knowledge, creativity, and labor of all of humanity.
As for the lawsuit in Florida, state officials want to force OpenAI to change its programming. They claim the company could be liable for billions of dollars. Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
And it was a scary experience for several people in Japan. Take a look at this video. 4 people were injured and others were left frightened when a bear wandered into a neighborhood. Police were called when the bear attacked 2 workers at a local steel factory. You'll start to see the video right now down at the bottom right of your screen when the bear comes into view. The security video shows the bear chasing the man near the building, and the bear caught him and then threw him down before entering a building and injuring another person. Japan's environment industry says bear attacks have been on the rise as more people move to rural areas. 20 people were killed in over 240 bear attacks last year in Japan. How scary is that? Well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, work crews have made some amazing historical discoveries while digging below the Notre Dame Cathedral in France. We'll hear about their accidental find as Good Morning Maine rolls along.
Carpets looking tired, stained, or just plain dirty? It's time to call the pros. At C&R Carpet Cleaning, we use deep steam technology to remove dirt, odors, pet hair, and allergens fast. Fresh, clean carpets, healthier home. That's the C&R promise. Visit our Facebook page for a free estimate or call us today, 631-7380. Step into clean with C&R Carpet Cleaning.
Our message to the billionaire class is, your greed has got to end, and we are going to end it for you.
I agree with Bernie Sanders. That's why I co-chaired his campaign here in Maine. And that's why I'm running for Congress. to fight for a people's agenda. Tax billionaires, Medicare for all, living wages, affordable housing, universal child care. I'm Matt Dunlap, and I approve this message to ask for your vote.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. Today is Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026, and it is also American Indian Citizenship Day. It was on this day in 1924 that the Indian Citizenship Act was passed by Congress, granting U.S. citizenship to all Native Americans born here in the country. The day celebrates the history, heritage, and culture of Indian tribes all across America and is a reminder of their enduring legacy. All right, it's time for some more history. It was on this date back in 1851, the fruit-producing company Dole was founded in Hawaii. They've been making lots of pineapples ever since. In 1886, President Grover Cleveland became the first president to get married while at the White House. The 49-year-old president wed 21-year-old Frances Folsom, the daughter of a former law partner. Quite the controversy at the time. In another White House first, Cleveland's second daughter, Esther, became the first child to be born at the White House. In 1941, on this date, baseball legend Lou Gehrig died from ALS, a disease that became known as Lou Gehrig's disease. He was only 37. In 1966, the U.S. space probe Surveyor 1 landed on the moon and began transmitting detailed photos of the lunar surface. A couple more for you. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth was crowned at the age of 27 during a ceremony at London's Westminster Abbey. And finally, in 1997, Timothy McVeigh was convicted of murder for carrying out the bombing of the Oklahoma City Federal Building. He was sentenced to death and executed in 2001. For birthdays today, they include actor Justin Long, who is 48 today. Comedian Dana Carvey, the church lady, is 71 today. And actress Marina Baccarin is 47 years old today. Happy birthday to them and to you also if your birthday is today. We hope you have a wonderful day. The weather is going to be a bit on the cloudy side today, but hang in there. Looks like sunny skies and warmer temperatures will be here by tomorrow. Here's Devin with the details.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes. Now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Let's check out the radar and satellite. A little bit of precipitation tracking in from the north and going toward the south. A little bit of lightning showing up as well. We will get this out of here, and we are going to watch out for a slight chance for showers and even a little bit of a rumble of thunder today, especially farther down toward the south. So as we do push forward, this is all courtesy of a boundary that is currently passing through. Let's zoom things out. We can see that boundary right about in here going from north to south. So Futurecast pushing forward, we do see that developing from north to south. We will get that out of here later on tonight with the clouds breaking up too. And even as we head towards tomorrow, a beautiful day filled with a lot of sunshine. So pushing forward, we do have some winds today reaching up to about 15 to 20 miles per hour as that boundary passes through. The winds will back off later on tonight. Hourly forecast moving forward, we do have some clouds, slight chance for a shower or storm. Temperatures in the 70s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
Sounds great. Thank you, Devin. Well, it might be hard to believe, but cities can rise. In Rome, the ground has become 30 feet higher since the empire fell in the 5th century, with experts saying ancient inhabitants used to just build on top of older and demolished structures, and it caused the buildup. Over time, this process did more than just raise the city. It also covered artifacts down below. In fact, something similar has happened outside the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France, where archaeologists are currently unveiling treasures from the past. Fox News' Gary Baumgarten takes a look at some of those discoveries.
While tourists getting ready for their summer vacations might be heading into museums or landmarks around the world, archaeologists say so much history could actually still be lurking under some of these structures. In Paris, teams digging below the Notre Dame Cathedral are uncovering just that. Revealing artifacts from nearly 2,000 years ago, 13 feet underground.
It's a rare opportunity for us.
The dig started as a result of Paris wanting to transform the bare area in front of Notre Dame into a shady spot for visitors. But because of the historic setting, the ground couldn't be turned until the crews determined what was below. When the cathedral was first being built in 1163, archaeologists say this site was lined with medieval homes.
There is a street in the middle of the forecourt, and there are houses in the south and houses in the north. So we have rediscovered these houses.
Teams also found rare intact ceramics, but say the broken pieces that they're uncovering can contain surprises.
The most incredible things we found during the dig at Notre Dame are these famous ceramic shards in which there were traces of painted inscriptions on the inside. And for the moment, we haven't deciphered them yet.
Crews digging further have even reached Roman artifacts from the 4th and 5th centuries, and they still want to keep going.
This coin there is an example of a Roman coin that we found at the Parvis Notre Dame, where you've got the profile of, I think it's Constantine.
Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
How neat is that? I love that kind of stuff. Well, still to come this morning, Max Sturm will have your sports news. Don't go away.
Garrett Mason is the America First conservative for governor. Mason will fight alongside President Trump to deport criminal illegal aliens and keep Maine families safe. No sanctuary cities in Maine, ever. Garrett Mason is tough on illegal immigration.
Here at Twin City Tire and Service, you will be working with industry professionals. We have ASE certified master technicians and certified tire and lube technicians. If we need your vehicle for a duration of time, we offer a complimentary shuttle service and can even offer a loaner vehicle. Being a client at Twin City Tire and Service means that we will treat you right. This includes a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on mechanical repairs. We also provide you with 1 year of complimentary roadside assistance. Come see us today at Twin City Tire and Service in Brewer.
Welcome to outdoor living. Welcome to Granville Stone and Hearth. Goodness knows we've been cooped up long enough. Make plans now to enjoy the outside of your home, too. Come to Granville and see, touch, and imagine what you can do in your backyard. Light a path, light a fire, grill a meal, sit a bit. It's all in stock. There's a staycation right outside your door with expert help from Granville, one of the largest outdoor living suppliers in Maine. Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Bobby Charles ran a D.C. consulting firm that advised California Democrats while they were defending sanctuary cities that put illegal aliens back on our streets. Bobby Charles, California values, sanctuary cities. Bobby Charles is liberal on illegal immigration.
He said that you're a bad kisser.
It's a kiss list. I'm gonna kiss each other.
This Fox movie night is certified with a smooch. The Kiss List, Thursday at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. Patriots fans, the rumors have been circulating for months, but now we can finally officially report that wide receiver A.J. Brown has been traded to the New England Patriots. The Pats acquired the Super Bowl champion receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2028 first-round draft pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. The idea of Brown being dealt to the Pats has been a foregone conclusion around the league for months, but the Eagles waited until June 1st in order to save $20 million in dead cap space from that trade. In his most recent season with the Eagles, even in one that was considered to be a down year for a guy of his caliber, Brown totaled 78 catches for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Brown instantly becomes Drake May's #1 target and will join a receiving room that includes fellow new addition Romeo Doubs and Kayshon Boutte, who has been there for a little while now, giving May a noticeable upgrade in the pass catching department from last year. It's likely that Brown will show up to the Patriots facility in the coming days, and he will address the media in his first week in New England. What an addition for New England. He rejoins Mike Vrabel, who was his coach back at Tennessee when he was first drafted. The latest reports indicate that he will wear number 1 for the Patriots. Now some more sad news surrounding the New England Patriots, as former head coach Raymond Berry has died at 93 years old. Before coaching the Patriots, Berry was a great wide receiver for the then Baltimore Colts and was named a first-ballot Hall of Famer in 1973. He was then named the Pats wide receivers coach in 1973 after some more coaching jobs before becoming the head coach in 1984, holding the position until 1989. He led the Patriots to their first ever Super Bowl appearance in 1985, and his team was the first NFL team in history to go to the Super Bowl, winning 3 playoff games on the road as a wild card team. Berry's exact cause of death has not been released, but the family says that the 93-year-old passed away peacefully, surrounded by family.
Giving them an astonishing 16 takeaways in.
And we have some more breaking news out of the NFL as superstar pass rusher Myles Garrett has been dealt from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. The trade sends Garrett to the Rams in exchange for defensive end Jared Verse and a first-round pick in next year's draft. The 2017 draft pick is a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time first-team All-Pro, and 7-time Pro Bowler. And is just last season he broke the record for most sacks in a single season with 23, all of that before the age of 30. The only thing eluding Garrett, a Super Bowl championship, and now he'll get a good shot at that with the Rams, who have been at the top of the league for several years now and look absolutely stacked this year. Let's take it local for a second and head over to Mansfield Stadium, where the Bangor Rams hosted the Brewer Witches. It was senior day for the Rams, so they go ahead and they celebrate with their families pregame. Top of the first, Parker Bouchard's hit into center field, and then Aiden Bernard is able to round the bases and make it home. It's 1-0 Brewer early. Matthew Torcott with this one, he would end the frame with the strikeout. Bottom of the first now, Jacoby Harvey crushes this one, but the out is made a jumping grab by Cody Hughes. What a play for the out. Second inning, Jonas Gilly sends this one long for the double. They'd have a chance to score on it, but the runner would trip at third base. Score remains 1-0. Impressive play in the third as Torcott throws to first for Rutherford and tosses to Gilly and tags the runner out. In the 5th inning, Brewer pitcher Freddie Stewart closes out another great inning. He played great in the 6th, but Nick Lorena smacks one with the bases loaded for Bangor. Harvey would score, and 3 more runs for Bangor would score. They bounce back and win 4-1. To the ice now, the Stanley Cup Finals are set to begin Tuesday, and it'll be the Carolina Hurricanes taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. The Hurricanes had an impressive path to the finals, sweeping the first 2 series versus the Senators and the Flyers, and then defeating the Montreal Canadiens in 5 games. The Golden Knights, on the other hand, are an entirely different story. They hired their head coach, John Tortorella, 9 games before the playoffs, and were at best in a lackluster conference. They not only just knocked off the Cup favorite Colorado Avalanche in the Western Conference Finals, they swept them 4-0. The Canes are back in the dance for the first time since 2006, where they won their only Cup, and the Golden Knights are back for the 3rd time in their 9-year history, with their last appearance coming in 2023, which they also won. That series is set to begin Tuesday night at 8 p.m. in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is a matchup that Hurricanes forward Logan Stankoven says will be no walk in the park.
It's going to be a challenge for us. I think, you know, if we keep bringing the game that we have right now, puts us in a good spot. So, like you said, I've played against them. I know what to expect. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard series.
And lastly, some high school football news. Washington Academy has named John Solomon their new head football coach. Solomon is a former defensive tackle for the Maine Black Bears from 1998 to 2000 and has since been coaching high school football. He is hired as the head coach at Holton High School in 2020. He stepped down in 2022, but then served as the athletic director there until August of 2023. He now joins a Raiders team who went 3-4 in 2025 and will look to bring them back to the playoffs. For right now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
If you need a lobbyist in D.C., Bobby Charles might just be your guy. But if you want a conservative businessman who will shake up Augusta, then vote for me. I'm Jonathan Bush. I'm an outsider, a job creator, and a disruptor. As governor, I will fight for you, slashing your taxes, shredding the waste, fraud, and woke insanity, keeping boys out of girls' sports.
Thanks, Dad.
And always protecting your freedom. I'm Jonathan Bush. I'd appreciate your vote.
President Feta cheese. So fresh. So creamy. No wonder it's the #1 feta in America. If it's excellent, it's President.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon.
Yeah. You had me a trash panda. That was gangster.
It pays to choose wisely.
Wed, Thurs.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
He just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
As hurricane season in the Atlantic begins, experts say we could expect below average storm activity this year. However, they warn it's still important to stay prepared. While a typical season actually brings about 14 tropical storms and hurricanes, only 8 to 14 named storms have been predicted so far this year. That's according to recent data by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The agency added that only one of the 3 of those storms are expected to become major hurricanes. Agency officials say the below average estimate is due to the potential impact of El Nino in the Atlantic basin, adding there is an 82% chance the El Nino will hit sometime between now and July. NOAA defines El Nino as a natural climate pattern where surface seawater temperatures are warmer than average, causing a shift in trade winds. While the weather event aggravates weather patterns globally, it can decrease the number of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean, as the warmer air and stronger winds that El Nino brings to the Atlantic are adverse to storms. However, atmospheric science professor Brian Tang warns that despite a potentially less busy season ahead, it's still important to be prepared.
There's 3 basic tips I recommend people do if they live in a coastal community. 1 is to understand if they are in an evacuation area. 2, if they are asked to evacuate, to have an evacuation plan. And one should consider, for instance, if you have pets, what to do in that scenario. And the third preparation tip is to have a hurricane preparedness kit. And doing those 3 simple things, being proactive about things, can save a lot of stress when a hurricane does threaten your neighborhood.
Well, NOAA says the intensity of this year's hurricanes will depend on how quickly El Nino develops and how strong it becomes, which the agency says is currently hard to tell. Hurricane season in the Atlantic began on Monday, and it will last through November 30th. Let's hope they're right and we don't get any major hurricanes. Every now and then we get one skirting up through the state of Maine, and they can cause some destruction, to be sure. All right, let's turn things back over to Devin now for a final look at our forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes, now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. Alrighty, here we go. Wave heights at around 3 feet according to the buoys. We have no advisories in effect across the area, and we'll we're looking calmer further off towards the north and east. A little bit active further out towards sea at around 3 to even 7 feet at this moment in time. Meanwhile, we do have a boundary passing through, and in fact, a little bit of lightning earlier this morning with a little bit of a downpour to the north. We will have a slight chance for a shower or storm throughout the daytime period today, especially as this boundary passes through. We will calm down later on tonight, but otherwise outside of this boundary, the rest of the northeast looking rather calm. Some other areas across the country seeing some showers and even some thunderstorms this morning. But for us, as we do push forward, a nice day on the way. Again, we do have a slight chance for a shower or storm again along the coast later on this afternoon, with the clouds breaking up later on tonight. And in fact, as we head towards your Wednesday, looking very nice, filled with a lot of sunshine. Get outside and enjoy Wednesday. It will be a nice one out there. Maybe a few passing clouds as we head towards Wednesday night, but that's all we're really going to see. Your UV index forecast for today, despite the clouds, will still be at a 6. That is high. Burn time of 30 minutes. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, and shade will still be necessary to avoid a bad sunburn, as it's only a slight chance we'll see a shower or storm. Now, we still have drought going on, so we can still use a lot of precipitation to knock that drought down. So for today, here's what we're looking at. Mostly cloudy and isolated shower or storm possible. Highs in the low 70s. North wind at around 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, we have mid 40s under a partly cloudy sky and a light and variable wind. And then there's tomorrow. We have upper 70s, mostly sunny, and that west breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy for your Thursday with highs in the mid 80s, low 80s coming up for your Friday under a mostly cloudy sky. Showers and thunderstorms possible Saturday, highs in the mid 70s.
Meet the toughest team in the game. Bad Boy Mowers and Bad Boy Tractors. These powerhouses will do whatever it takes to win. Putting in the work with unrivaled engineering, game-changing features like heated seats and an Alpine entertainment system, plus durable implements and style that's in a league of its own. Bad Boy Mowers and Tractors. Power, performance, attitude.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at eatonpaving.com.
Lights, camera, cheese! The Cheese House is looking for its next star, and it could be you. If you're 21 or older, enter for your chance to appear in the next commercial. Stop by the Cheese House at 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield to enter. While you're there, browse their huge selection of glassware and 420 specialty foods. But we have the cheese! Remember, entries are happening in person at the Cheese House, 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield. Bring your personality, bring your smile, and we have the cheese.
Matt Dunlap sided against Maine women. Dunlap's anti-abortion voting record earned him a 100% rating from Maine Right to Life. We deserve answers. Matt Dunlap says,
no regrets at all.
Now a mystery group tied to Republicans is meddling with $300,000 to elect Dunlap. Vote for a Democrat we can trust, with a 100% voting record from Planned Parenthood. Joe Baldacci.
I'm Joe Baldacci, and I approve this message.
The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool is now covered with a commercial-grade blue coating that's being called American Flag Blue. The no-bid repair and painting project was ordered by President Trump ahead of America's 250th anniversary. Crews have been working to resurface the pool, applying multiple layers of waterproof dark blue material intended to put an end to long-standing leaks and to prevent algae growth. Historic preservation groups had taken legal action to stop the project, claiming it fundamentally altered the historic character of that landmark. Nonetheless, the work is still going on, and the entire 2,000-foot-long pool perimeter remains off limits to pedestrians while the workers carry out their jobs. I watched a video on it myself yesterday, and they were interviewing some workers, and they say it's going to be more reflective than ever. It's going to be just like a mirror surface once they get it all completed there. Well, 4 Red River hogs have a birthday party at the Memphis Zoo. The zoo shared video of the adorable birthday party. Zoo staff set up boxed cake, carrot candles, and of course, lots of grass too. 3 of the hogs are a set of triplets. Caretakers say this is their first birthday party as well. Looks like the folks there at the zoo know how to treat their animals and make sure they have a special day. What an unusual looking hog. All right, thanks for being there, folks. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, she appeared in Gem and the Holograms.